Welcome to episode 136 of the Thunder Underground podcast. My name's Trent. I'm joined by Jason. This week we've got Bill Leverty of Firehouse.
The blood, sweat, and beers triumvirate, if you will.
Triumvirate.
Is trifecta, whatever, is complete.
Yeah, it took us 136 episodes.
We did it, though.
Yeah. For those of you that are not in the know, Blood, Sweat, and Beers was the name of the tour that Warrant headlined in 1991.
Yeah.
Maybe into 92, I don't know.
I think we were like 4 or 5 back then.
Yeah. Yeah, just hit 5.
Yeah.
But no, it was Warrant with Firehouse and Trickster. And that was both of ours first concert.
Mm-hmm.
So once we started getting into this, pretty early on, we were able to get Joey Allen of Warrant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we thought, you know what, eventually we're going to get these 2 guys from these other 2 bands.
That's right.
To make the circle complete. You know, our first concert, we started this podcast, and now it's all a big circular thing. So then we got Gus Scott from Trickster, and now here we are with Bill Leverty of Firehouse.
It's quite an honor. Firehouse is the very first band I ever saw live as they opened the show. That was a memorable night for me. It kind of kicked off a lot of stuff in my life, as being a music fan. And I really love that whole genre of music. I still take it very seriously to this day, but I definitely have a soft spot in my heart for all 3 of those bands. So this is great.
Yeah.
And I thought that was your first concert. I thought you had something before that. I thought you were like one up on me or something.
I saw Conway Twitty when I was a kid.
Well, now that counts, because Conway Twitty's a fucking badass and a legend.
I don't know if it was Conway. I have to ask my mom. I went to some country concert when I was a little kid, but I don't remember it. So my first real concert as a kid wanting to go to a concert was that.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's great. Where was it at?
The Expo Square Pavilion in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Wow.
I think that was Mike Thrasher's first concert, too.
I'm jealous.
What?
I'm jealous.
Jealous of what?
I wanted to see Conway Twitty.
Oh, no, I'm talking about Warrant again.
Oh. I'm talking... No, where was Conway Twitty at?
Oh, I don't know.
Jeez.
Call up my mom.
I was still so jazzed about Conway Twitty, I forgot where we were for a minute.
Okay.
I think we should do a whole country episode one time.
Yeah. Who was it that we were going to do that? Adam Jode, right?
Yes.
And Steve Young from Crane Technique.
Yes. We need to do it.
The Round Table.
I just saw a badass country show this past weekend. But
right,
anyways.
that's right.
But, I mean, we just got way off the fucking subject there, but...
You don't want to talk about Dale Watson on this podcast?
I do, but,
okay.
I mean, I just saw him this past weekend. It was freaking amazing. Asleep at the wheel, too, but, we're getting...
Yeah.
We're getting way out there.
Save that for our second Shooter Jennings episode.
Yes, exactly. Let's get back on track here.
Well, let's break this up a tiny bit and throw some music up here early on. We wanted to play a guy that we've played before because he's been on this podcast.
Yes.
His name's Chris Green, and he is the guitarist for Taiketo and Rubicon Cross, and now Delacoma.
That's right.
But this right here is his solo EP called Unveil, and this song's called Once Forgotten. Once Forgotten from Chris Green. That's from his solo EP, Unveil. Check that thing out. It's on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, all that great stuff. Look him up on Facebook at Chris Green Guitarist. But, I mean, what can you say? That guy's just fucking phenomenal.
Oh, man. I mean, I just want to throw my guitar away when I hear that. It makes you want to do one of two things. Practice more or throw your guitar away.
Right.
This is a great song. It's real, you know, kind of majestic. Has a majestic feel.
Right.
You know, it could be like in, you know, something you might hear at a TSO show or on Game of Thrones or something. I mean... and then, you know, and then it's got some tempo changes and he shreds and it's a great showcase of what Chris can do and just how great of a guitar player he is.
Yeah, and that EP has 5 songs and they've all got a different style and feel to them.
Exactly.
But if you love guitar work, you'll absolutely love it.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, he's in Delacoma right now helping them out. And we had Delacoma on the podcast too.
Yeah. Which is another artist you need to check out if you're not familiar with him. And Troy Patrick Farrell is now in Delacoma. At least, I don't know if this is permanent or him and Chris Green are just filling in for tour, but we'll find out soon enough, right?
Do you still play Words with Friends with Troy Patrick Farrell?
I did up until a few weeks ago, actually.
Oh, man, that's
Whenever
awesome.
I quit playing with everybody because I got slacking and he resigned a game, so I think he was pissed off at me.
I would be.
So if TPH is out there, I apologize for that, you know, slacking on that game. I think I did it on you, too.
Yeah, you did. You don't like dog and cat and fat and tap. I mean, those are my go-to words for that game. Za.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris Green was on episode 98. That was a really good one, I think.
It was.
He had a lot of
It was
cool
great.
stuff to talk about, so go check that out. And another thing that kind of ties this all together is he's the guitarist for Rubicon Cross, which if you have not checked out, you need to. That features CJ Snare of Firehouse.
Yes.
And it's a little bit heavier than Firehouse, and just like Firehouse, as you heard from that song, it's got great guitar work. So be sure and check out Rubicon Cross.
Definitely.
Well, speaking of member changes, what were you going to talk about? Baroness or something?
No.
Okay.
You just...
Sorry, I had to do a segue
You gotta
here.
give me shit at every turn, don't you?
No.
Did you see, did you hear what happened with, Devil You Know? Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw earlier they changed their name to
Okay, that was what I was going to bring up.
Light the Torch, was that right?
Yeah, because, you know, him and Jamie Josta always talked about it on the Josta show about, like, his new side project and what they should call it. And I think that just morphed into changing the name of Devil You Know, I think.
Oh, so it was separate from Devil You Know, but then now you think it's
yeah,
one?
I think, I haven't heard anything about it lately, but I'm wondering if that's, because that was the first I'd heard of that. So, and it's, you know, I just thought it was weird. I mean, I don't know what the circumstances are, but I mean, have you known a band that's been 2 or 3 albums in that has, you know, a decent fan base to where they can tour and then they just change their name?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
There's got to be something to it.
I'm sure there's a band out there somewhere that did it, but that seems like a first to me, you know, like a band on a national level, you know? So it's just weird.
Maybe they saw the Devil You Adore change their name, so they thought, we need to change ours too.
Yeah, there you go. Trendsetters.
Right.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I also saw just a little video on Facebook, Streets Gone Wild posted, said it's going to look like June 2018 for the next Streets Gone Wild.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Not in the fall like last time?
No, we're gonna go out there in the scorching heat on the pavement. So
yeah, that's the only downfall to that. But hey, if they can make it happen, that might be the best time to do it. So
great lineup like that. I'm there.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
Firehouse was there last time.
That's right.
Tying all this together.
Yeah, it's just it's all over the place. And also, I just saw that Locust Grove and Emperors and Elephants are coming to the Shrine.
Oh wow!
September 3rd.
Okay.
So that's going to be a cool show.
Yeah, Emperors and Elephants. That's the one that with Randy from THC, right?
Yes.
Or I don't know if he still is.
Yeah, I think he used. I'm not sure. But just a few little things I just saw that I wanted to bring up. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, this weekend, if you're in Oklahoma City area, Scattered Hamlets returning to Oklahoma Friday night at Thunder Alley.
Yes.
And that's 2 things we love: Thunder Alley and Scattered Hamlet.
That's right.
That's a band that I can't stress enough. If you've never seen live, if they're in your town, go do it.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
They tour all the time, all over the country. You got to see these guys. They're fantastic live. And they've been on this podcast, 3 times now?
3 times, yeah.
Yeah, so get out there, look for them. I'm going to be there.
Okay.
So come say hey if you're out there. And then the next night, here in Tulsa, we've got a show at the Vanguard with the Normandies, Wither, Madewell, right? Or no.
Pawn Shop Heroes.
Pawn Shop Heroes, and then Western Horn and the Hush.
Yes.
So that's a great lineup. Get out there, check that out. We've had the Normandies on here before. We played Wither. Western Horn is in the Normandies. He's been on here.
Western Horn's in the, yes.
So get out there and check that out. It's a great night of punk rock and hard rock that you don't want to miss.
That's right.
And if you're in the Oklahoma City area, you can go check out the Gathering of the Juggalos. Jason will be out there handing out the Underground stickers at the door. So,
hey, you're the one that's going to Oklahoma City this weekend, Dick.
To see Scattered Hamlet. But then again, I don't know. Adam Jode might be at the Juggalo thing, so I might have to go out there.
You know what? I wouldn't. He probably won't like you saying that.
That's true. I should probably backtrack.
Yeah, you might want to rescind that. You might want to edit that out.
Okay.
Because you're acting like a jabroni right now.
That's true. That is very true. Well, we need to get into this Firehouse talk, don't we?
Yeah. I mean,
so I want to ask you something first.
Okay.
As a guitarist, I can always, as a fan of music, I can hear a guy and think, this guy's great. Hear different styles and all that, but I don't hear it the same way as someone that plays guitar. Mm-hmm. And I know that throughout the years, ever since we're younger, even now, you've always talked about Bill Leverty and how you thought he kind of stood out above a lot of those guys from that era.
Definitely.
So what is it about him that makes him do that, in your opinion?
For me, I think I kind of alluded to this in the interview, but and this comes with seeing him play is just the way he moves his hands. It makes it look very easy. It's economical. It's it just I don't know. It's just the way it flows. It looks really skilled. It makes it look really easy. But anyways, I don't know. That could be clear as mud for anybody out there. I'm not really sure. But as far as sound, I just really, he was always, technical. You could label him as a shredder, but everything was always still really melodic, and you can sing a lot of that stuff. They're tuneful. They stick in your head, and that always stuck out to me. I always really dug that. It's funny. I remember, the second night of the Halata Fest, I ran into CJ from the Grind, and we were, he was asking me about, he found out I played guitar, and he was like, well, who do you like? And I was telling him the usual Metallica, Anthrax, Big Four, thrash, whatever. But I also threw in Bill Leverty, because I really enjoy his playing, and I think that, he's kind of not talked about as much as he should be. So that's where it comes from, from me on that, on Bill Leverty.
Cool. Well, if you've never checked out his solo stuff, you need to, because it's got, like you said, that melodic feel. It's a little bit more just along the melodic lines than Firehouse, obviously is, but Firehouse has some heavier stuff than I think a lot of his solo stuff is, but he's got some new, a few new songs the last couple years, and then he's got a lot of great cover stuff and some older.
Yeah, he does some great covers. He's got a great voice, you know.
It fits well with that style of rock. So yeah, it'd be exciting to see what his new stuff is coming out. And then of course Firehouse, I've always, like you said, first band we ever saw live. Yeah. I've loved them since the first time I heard them on the radio. I think it was probably Don't Treat Me Bad, and then, everything. Those first 2 albums are as good as any 2 albums from that era.
Definitely. I mean,
a lot of people don't elevate him up to the level of some of those bigger guys, but especially the second album.
Hold Your Fire is just like, it was a band from that genre going just a step further with the riffs and getting a little heavier and stuff. I mean, it was fucking cool. It was a great record.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite song off that record?
Oh man. I don't even, what's funny is I couldn't tell you other than Reach for the Sky. I think the title track's great, Hold Your Fire. But you know, when I was a teenager, I could have told you every song title, but now I just put the record on.
Right.
I mean, that's just me being honest. I don't know that I could tell you a title.
Yeah.
And that probably makes me look stupid, but
no.
Anyone that knows me knows that I stopped reading lyrics and getting into song titles a long time ago. I throw the CD in and, I go and, put on a Katy Perry video on mute or crack open a beer or something.
Right.
Just being honest here, folks.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, that second record is fucking great.
Yeah.
I know it. You know it.
Right.
It is.
Well, I think for me on that album, Rock You Tonight always jumped out as like, that might be my favorite Firehouse song. And I think you and Tracy went and saw him live.
Yes.
Like, man, what was it? Like
That
8
was a
or 8
long
years
time
ago,
ago.
probably now. And
Yeah. You were out of town and we were like, well, we got to go see him. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And that was a headline show. And I've seen them tons of times, but it's always been opening or festivals. And they played Rock. I remember you guys told me they played Rock You Tonight, and I was so heartbroken.
Yeah. Well, you should.
And they never played it when I've seen them, I don't think.
And well, it was crazy because it was in Claremore at like their high school gym. And it was like,
It's just so random, yeah.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know how the fuck that came about. But anyways, it was like in the middle of the gym and they built the stage and they just kind of like, you couldn't even, they kind of just brought the bleachers in a little bit and had a little standing area. I mean, it didn't even cover the whole floor of the gym. I mean, so there was probably, I don't know, 200-300 people. But I mean, the area that they played it was full and it was nuts. I mean, I've never seen a show like that in a gym and I haven't seen one since.
Right.
So it was definitely a pretty unique experience.
Yeah.
So, and when we weren't digging on Firehouse, we were talking shit about you the whole time.
Of course.
That's what your friends do, Trent.
Right. Well, yeah. I hope to see them again soon. They're playing shows every year, like you said. But besides that, early on, we saw them open for Tesla like the next year. Remember that? Or were you at that show?
I don't think so.
Tesla played the Pavilion.
No, I didn't go to that show. I did not get out.
Firehouse opened when they were on the Hold Your Fire tour. But yeah, I mean, even in 95 when they put out 3, I got that thing right when it came out. And that's when people, 95 we were 18. That's when people our age were like, wouldn't admit that they still liked, stuff from that era, but I didn't give a fuck.
I
It's like
either.
People would rather say that they like 7 Mary 3 or Dishwalla than Firehouse. Are you fucking kidding me? It's like, I'd still tell people at school, I'd still fucking wear a Warrant shirt. I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And so their music's good, even the later stuff, prime time, category 5, but I just hope they do something new because it's been a long time.
Hey, I got crazy mad fucking weird looks when I'd go to Best Buy and get, Warrant Ultraphobic CMC records.
CMC records, right?
The clerks would look at me like I had a dick growing out of my forehead, but I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because, what am I going to listen to? Warrant Ultraphobic or
Marcy's Playground?
Yeah, or Marcy's Playground. Really? Eat a dick. I know what I'm listening to.
Yeah. But that's the great thing is you could buy Ultraphobic, Firehouse 3, and Corrosion and Conformity, Wise Blood all at the same time, and it all makes sense.
It sure did to me, man.
Yeah. Well, should we get into this interview?
Yeah. Let's do it. Roll the thing.
Well, I haven't said yet to check out all our stuff.
Yeah, thunderunderground.com. Get that out of the way.
Get out there, like our stuff. Facebook, /The Thunder Underground. Instagram. SoundCloud is /Thunder-Underground. And then we're every Monday night. You can hear us on 1027WSNR.com. We stream there 7 p.m. Central. But yeah, here you go. Bill Leverty of Firehouse.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to shove 100 pounds of stuff in a 100-pound bag instead of in a 50-pound bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Well,
so yeah, it's good to be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're digging your the new "You're a Natural." We both dig it, and just kind of talk about where that came from and how that came to be.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate you guys listening to it, and I'm glad you like it. And thanks for the kind words. That one kind of started off with just the like a lot of the songs that I come up with. It's kind of the hook or the chorus. It happens first, and then I write the song backwards. So It was you're a natural disaster is the play on words or the little little double entendre or whatever. And then I've tried to turn it into a chorus, and then I tried to write whatever sounded like it would lead into the chorus well, and then I tried to write the verses. And then I try to write whatever's left over, being, a bridge or two. I think that song has 2 bridges, and then a good intro that would kind of set the mood, and then an ending that would kind of finish it off. So it's I don't know where it came from. It was just really that you're a natural disaster. I just thought that sounded cool.
Yeah.
Was that how you write most of your songs? You're saying?
Yeah, most of the songs that that are lyrical songs that I had a part in the lyrics, it's been a hook first, like the title of the song or the main line in the chorus. It really wasn't so much, okay, what are we going to write about? Let's write the first verse. That's first verse is sometimes the last lyric to be written in the stuff that I've done. I mean, I'm just not that good at starting with a blank piece of paper and let's start with the first verse. And hats off to the guys who can do it. I've just kind of been a backwards writer.
Well, as a guitarist, are you always coming up with riffs and then putting them to the side and thinking, well, that'll work once you come up with a chorus like that?
I practice a little bit every day. I used to practice a lot more, but I still practice at least an hour a day. And a lot of the practicing is trying to do the things that I kind of already know how to do. And then I try to set some of the time aside to try to come up with new things and new ideas and try new riffs and new melodies and stuff. Excuse me. And when I got a good one that kind of makes me feel like, that's worth working on, I press the record button. And, lately, and I guess in the last 10 or 15 years, 95% of the time when I'm practicing, I'm practicing into my digital audio workstation or Pro Tools. And so I can just hit the record button and lay that idea down and then come back to it and go, hey, that was good, or, it was lame, or it sounds like, something else I've done or something somebody else has already done. And it's kind of, you second guess yourself to death on that stuff. But I think the bottom line is just that what I try to do is just keep the instrument in my hands as many hours, a day as I can. And hopefully some good things will come out.
Well, you've had a couple other songs over the past few years that you released as singles, like Strong. And do you have any thoughts on doing a full length of original material anytime soon?
Yeah, well, so my plan of attack for the last couple of solo albums has been, you just write a song, finish it, try to make it as good as you can, and put it out. And then when you got 10, you put out an album. And right now I've got 7. And I'm kind of stuck right now at 7. It's been a while since I released You're Natural, but I have some other ideas that are, once something really jumps out and smacks me in the face, I'll really try to take it to its completion. But right now I'm kind of in the phase of just trying to practice and work on some guitar playing, and I, like I said, I've got a couple of ideas that are on the back burner, and hopefully I'll get the last 3 songs done and get another CD out.
Yeah, the most recent full length you did was Drive. It had a lot of great covers on it. And how do you go about choosing what covers you're going to do? Is it just stuff that you're a big fan of, or is it something you think that would work well with your guitar playing and voice?
Well, it's all that. The stuff I'm a big fan of, some of it's way out of my vocal league. But with that album, I tried to pick songs that influenced me before I started playing guitar. So as a young guy, and I tried to make it, songs that I still love today, and then songs that I could sing and play, and maybe in the playing throw my style as a vocalist and as a singer in there, and try to make it somewhat different from the original, but still keep the integrity of the original recordings. And that just started off with one song, and I had so much fun. I like, let's find the next song. And I spent quite a while in between songs trying to decide on the next song to do. I wish it was easy to go, okay, the next song's going to be this one, but then I always had a reason not to do the next song. Like, I decided I'm not going to do songs that have been covered a lot, but they had to be songs that were deeply ingrained in my DNA as a kid growing up, and songs that I still love to listen to today. So it narrowed it down to those, but I didn't just sit down and pick the 10. I picked one, and then after I finished it, I went, all right, what's the next one going to be? And then I waited for a couple of weeks and sifted through tunes that, because we were, as kids, we were influenced by so many songs. They were all over the radio back then, and there were so many genres that I liked. It wasn't just hard rock, heavy metal. I liked everything. I didn't really have the blinders on. And as I became, in my late teens and early 20s, I really started to really focus only on, stuff that had great guitar, that like high gain guitars, Van Halen, Ted Nugent, Michael Schenker, stuff like that. And as far as playing, but I listened to still some other guitarists, but when I was younger, I tend to listen to more of, the songs and the singers. So it was a fun exercise in making that record, not only in going back and learning these songs that I liked as a kid, but also listening to the production and how they put these things together, and how they were written, and how masterful these guys were back then in doing it all, with a 16-track tape machine or whatever.
Yeah. Well, kudos for not picking all the songs that have been done a lot, because if I hear another cover of Sympathy for the Devil, I'm going to puke.
And I love that song.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, but you know what I mean.
I kind of ruled out the Stones from the get-go, because you can't really cover the Stones.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I couldn't cover a Zeppelin song either, and I couldn't cover a Van Halen song. I could attempt covering a Beatles song, but I still thought that was, a little too much of a right in front of your face kind of song. I wanted to pick the ones that are a little more obscure, that I was interested in as a kid, that everybody else wasn't necessarily interested in. Mm-hmm. Some of those songs were number one songs, but I think we've forgotten about some of them. And so I wanted to kind of remind myself of them, and then if everybody else listened to it and liked it, then all the better.
Yeah. I mean, have you always sang? Have you always been comfortable with singing, or did you just knew that you wanted to do solo stuff, so you're going to have to start singing?
Well, I sang in the church choir when I was a young guy. I was in another choir, but when you get a singer like C.J. Snare in your main band, mm-hmm. or why sing? Well, the reason I got to sing is because I got to harmonize with him, and I got to be in tune with him, and he's got perfect pitch, as good as anybody I've ever heard, and listening to him for that many years, only makes me try to be a better singer, because the bar is set so high with him. And, with my first, I sang on a couple of Firehouse songs in our old recordings. And I sang on a bunch of the demos that I kind of prepped up before I played them for anybody to be considered to be songs for our band. But, when you're doing something on a demo, you're kind of thinking, well, this really doesn't really matter that much, so I don't have to really get the vocal to be completely, I don't have to be completely satisfied with my performance. But after, I don't know when, I guess it was like 1997 or 8, I just decided, I'm going to try to record a couple of these old songs that I had ideas for and sing them. And I sang them kind of as demos, but as keeper demos, so that I was happy with the performance. But my intention was to like go back and sing them in a studio with a really good mic. And because I just sang them with a Shure SM57. But after I was done with the songs, I thought, well, you know what? I don't really want to go back and sing them again. I think I captured the vibe, and I put out my first solo album. And it's more bluesy than a Firehouse vibe. Firehouse has a blues-based hard rock, melodic rock kind of vibe to it, but some of these songs were a little too bluesy, and they didn't get voted on by everybody for whatever reason. So I just held on to them, and eventually I thought, well, I want to sing them, So I decided to go ahead and give it a shot, and then, I've been singing. I think this will be my 5th solo album that when it gets done, and 3 out of 4 of them are vocal records, and it sure does make you a better singer, I think, by recording yourself, because you can listen back, and when you're singing live in the heat of the moment, it's kind of hard to really zero in on everything with a vocal and with everything. But when you listen back and you have that power of rewind, it'll make you better at everything you do, I think, in terms of being a musician and as a singer.
Perry Richardson got up on stage and played with you guys, I think it was towards the end of last year. How was that, having him back on stage, and did it just feel like time had never passed, or did it feel odd?
Oh, it was great. He's doing great, and it was great to see him, and he just plays great and sings great, and we had a great time. It was a wonderful experience, and I think the fans loved it, and we all had a great time. It was really cool.
Cool. Well, Firehouse has been, I know you guys had Full Circle a few years ago, but it's been quite a while since you had an album of new material. Is there any thoughts or any talk on that?
So we all want to do it. It's, getting everybody to be off and then cut out time to get together to write it. Our hope is to write a song and then put out a song first, so you don't have to tackle a whole album. And so, as soon as we get the right song and the right time to lay it down, we're all eager to do it. It's just getting it together is the only thing holding us back. So hopefully soon.
Do you guys write together, or do you kind of just bring ideas fully, or how do you guys do that?
We've done it both ways, and we've had great success and enjoyment in doing it both ways. I write any way I can write. If I'm in the shower and I've got an idea for a song, and I can go downstairs and start working on it, I'll do it. If we're all sitting at the dinner table and drinking a beer afterwards and shooting around ideas, that's a great way to do it too. So, my philosophy is to kind of take it any way you can get it.
Well, talk about the Alsip Guitars. I've noticed you've played those the last few years, and they're pretty slick. So I just kind of want you to talk about those a little bit.
Well, thank you very much. They're from Big Spring, Texas, and I think that Jake, who was the owner of the company, he's originally from Kansas, and he moved to Texas a few years ago. But they make really great handcrafted instruments that are the combinations of all the best things of all the great instruments that are made out there, and kind of truncating or deleting the parts of those instruments that aren't so good. They're great instruments made by every company, but there are certain things on each one that aren't so good or don't really work as well, in his opinion, and I agree. I share his opinion on this stuff. So he's come up with some designs for guitars that work really well for my style of playing. And the one that I'm using is a 24 fret neck guitar. It's a neck through body construction, so it's not a bolt-on neck. It's actually the one I've got now is a laminated couple of different types of wood that go from the very end of the headstock all the way down through to the very end of the guitar, the strap button. And that laminate is made up of maple, lacewood, and purple heart. And it's five pieces of wood that are kind of put together to make that big old piece of wood. And then the sides of this new guitar are cherry. Wow. And the tonality of all of that put together is, just enormous. I mean, it's just stunning. It really sounds great. And then the playability, once he puts all the love and care that he puts into making each instrument, it plays like butter. I mean, it's just an unbelievable instrument. This latest one has Seymour Duncan Custom Shop 78 pickup in the bridge, and an Alnico 2 Pro humbucker in the neck, and it's got fu-tone.com upgrades in it, which are a little bit of titanium in it and some stainless steel. And I'm trying to think of what else he's got in this thing. It's just a really super handcrafted gem, and all his guitars are like that. This is the fourth one I think that I've gotten from him, and they put a lot of detail into making these guitars the best they can possibly be, and I love them.
Yeah. It's when you said handcrafted, I just you can tell when you look at it because it's such a unique looking. It's serious. You can just tell when you look at it.
Yeah, I mean and the design of it is kind of familiar, in that it's a offset double cutaway kind of body style. It balances real well. Tonality wise, it's very well balanced, too. But you put it on your neck and it feels right, and you sit it on your knee, it feels right, and the neck is perfect. It's got an ebony fingerboard on it, and it's a work of art, and it's just a fantastic instrument. And the new one that I got, I plugged it in and played it and went, go, 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 go. And everybody looked and they were like, whoa, because the way it sounded, they were like, damn, that thing sounds great. Yeah. So the proof's in that pudding there when other people go, because, I'm loving it anyway. But when other people go, oh, gosh, what is that? That's where it's good, because I might be a little bit close to it or a little bit partial to it. But when people who don't have a horse in the race listen to it and their eyebrows go up, you got something.
Yeah. Well, talk about your style a little bit. I've always thought you've got just the right amount of flash, but you make it look easy and kind of economical. Just talk about how you developed it, and who you really what you cut your teeth on coming up.
Oh, thank you. I'm still working on it. I think it's such a work in progress. And I'm but my early influences. Musical influences weren't really guitar players. It was like Stevie Wonder and Rare Earth, and then Creedence Clearwater Revival at a young age. So there was guitars in that, and I remember listening to a Carlos Montoya record that my parents had that I really liked the sound of that. And that kind of inspired me as a young kid to really love the sound of the guitar. And then Lynyrd Skynyrd came out, and I just was crazy about their guitar playing and the songs and there were solos. There was just something really special about that. So I really loved the Southern kind of vibe. So I think this Southern sounding music has always bent my ear, you know. And then I listened to Ted Nugent, and I went and saw him live, and that really inspired me, kind of made me go, you know, I really want to learn how to play guitar. And I went and saw him, you know, at the Richmond Mosque, and it was just mind-blowing. And so I started, you know, kind of learning that too. And then Eddie Van Halen came out, and these are rock guitarists, you know, that really influenced me. Eddie Van Halen came out. That changed my life for sure. And I found out about Michael Schenker, who was, you know, just had such a great melody and such great rhythms, and that really got me inspired. And along that same time, I was exposed to a couple of fusion guitar players I would call, you know, Al Di Meola, Alan Holdsworth, and Jeff Beck and Steve Morse, my guys that made me, you know, realize that I'm never going to be that good, you know, like a guy like Steve Morse, you know. I mean, you know. So, you know, but they make you, you know, you go watch Steve Morse and you watch, you know, I saw the Dregs back when I was a kid, and I was like, well, I'm either going to quit or I'm going to practice. And I said, well, I'm going to practice. I have no idea how he did what he did there, but I'm at least practice my pentatonic scales and figure out, you know, how to play them better and you know, try to make them sound smooth. And, you know, as I've gone through this journey, I mean, that those were the main ones. And after I got, you know, I mean, I guess after I got to be about, you know, 21 or so, I kind of stopped learning how to play other people's stuff and just started trying to figure out how to create my own. And, you know, that's kind of been my path, you know, since. I haven't really sat down and studied or tried to figure out, you know, how to play a song that I really like. I listen to the song, and I think it kind of gets into my bloodstream a little bit, and then, you know, something might come out of me that has the flavoring of that. But, you know, gosh, as far as my style, I think I'm still trying to figure out what that is. You know, I think a lot of what I play is, you know, sometimes it's all legato, where I'll just maybe pick the first note and try to hammer on and pull off a bunch of notes to make it sound real fluid. And then sometimes I'll try to pick every note, and this is soloing, you know, what I'm talking about, but so I'll try to pick every note to make it sound like little drums, you know, and I can't really decide which way to go. So I'm just trying to get, so I'm fluent at both. I'm trying to learn, you know, how to do different scales and different ways to approach melody and harmony. And, you know, that's a never ending thing. So I you know, I never was really exposed to, you know, how to play classical guitar. So I would say that that's probably not in my wheelhouse, although I loved the sound of some of that stuff, but I don't really know how to do it. I was never really exposed to straight ahead or avant-garde jazz or anything like that, so I don't really know how to do that, so I can say that's not really in my playbook either. But straight ahead rock, pop, Southern, a little bit country is stuff that I tend to gravitate towards. And, you know, of the modes that I draw my note selection from, it's usually either, you know, a Dorian mode or a Mixolydian mode, if not, a Ionian or major scale or Aeolian minor scale, straight minor scale. I don't really get into any of the Lydian kind of stuff or any of the exotic kind of modes too much, but and that's probably just because my ear, when it comes time to play a solo over some chords that are underneath what I'm trying to create, I try to come up with a tune. I try to hum the tune first in my head or vocally before I try to play it, so that it is something that I feel musically instead of just have my fingers kind of kick it out. So that's kind of my approach on that.
Well, you mentioned practice, and I noticed you do Skype guitar lessons. Are you doing just guys who are wanting to advance their skills, or are you doing people that are beginning as well?
I've done a couple of beginner ones, and while they're fun and it's great to work with people who are just starting out, it's hard for me to remember what it was like to play or start playing when I was, that young and just picking up a guitar. So I'd say it's a little more challenging for me to be able to teach a beginner guitarist, and they probably get their money's worth more by going to a local guitar teacher and getting them to teach them the first position chords, the major chords, the minor chords, and start with that. And that's what I tell people is that, I'm happy to take your money, but I think you're kind of put in the wrong spot if you were to, and I'll sit down and kind of help people, who are just starting out. But I think once you get that first year of playing under your belt, you kind of get over a speed bump or over the hump, so to speak. And then it starts to get a little easier for you to play guitar. That first year is kind of hard to get your hand muscles trained to push down on those strings and get some calluses built up on your fingers, and learn the muscle memory going from, let's say, a G chord to a C chord. That's a pretty big shift with all your fingers, and but once you kind of crack that, it gets a lot easier from there, at least to do the basic stuff. Now it can get as hard as you want to take it, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be yet, but I think getting over that first year took a lot of the frustration away, and put it in the rearview mirror as far as just like being able to do a bar chord and have all the strings ring out. And that takes some muscles that kind of build up, and it takes a while to get there.
Well, when you do these lessons, are you getting a lot of guys that are like rock fans of your work, or are you getting people from all different walks of genres and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so it's mostly people who know me and know who I, know what I do and what I play, and they either want to learn, how do you do the all she wrote rhythm, or how do you do the riff and shake and tumble, or whatever, or it's how do you approach a solo? How do you connect these patterns? How do you, I know the pentatonic scale. What else can I do in this so that if I'm going to play a jam night and they're playing Johnny Be Good, let's say, what other notes can I do other than those 5 in that pentatonic scale? And I just show them kind of like how I think of it and how I view the fretboard and some of the ways that, I approach it. And it's probably a lot like everybody else, but I guess, my way of explaining it might be different. And, I've got a fair amount of guys that are sticking with me and still want to, do, one every couple of weeks or one a month. I try not to, if we talk for an hour on Skype, I do half-hour lessons and hour lessons. But if I give somebody an hour's worth of stuff, it might be too quick to come back in a week. I try to give them stuff to really practice and get so they're comfortable with it before we go on to the next one.
Talking about Firehouse again, something that always jumped out to me was you had a hit off the third album with I Live My Life For You, and that was in 95 whenever no one from the 80s rock and the glam rock era was having hits. So was that something that you guys noticed and thought about, or was it something that just kind of happened? And
Well, we sure noticed it. We sure thought about it, but the industry had moved on, except for the people who played it. The people who played it got phone calls right away from their listeners, radio stations, whatever, that played it, and they said, "I want to hear that song again." And the song went to like number one in Green Bay. I remember we were freaking out, going, "Wow, this is 1995, where all you hear on the radio is alternative or grunge kind of sound." But that song was well received in a lot of places, and we were begging the record company to put some money into promoting this thing, but they just didn't want to do it. I mean, we were on the same label as Pearl Jam, and Pearl Jam, great band, but they were getting all the love out of the rock department of Epic Records at the time, and Epic Records was not really interested in putting any dollars into promoting anything that sounded like melodic rock, hard rock, heavy metal kind of, or even light metal kind of stuff. So we were kind of on our own, and we went overseas and toured a lot on that record because there was a demand over there. And then we come back here and do a couple of good gigs. And then there was a lot of kind of disappointment, I guess, in the States at the time, because it was so hard to get to the audience, to let the audience know we got a new record out, got a new song out that's doing real well. But I mean, like you say, that song was a hit for us, and it kept us going over here. But what it really allowed us to do was to break in other parts of the world and go introduce ourselves to a bunch of countries that hadn't really been exposed to Firehouse before.
Well, is that still, because I remember always reading that, throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, Asia was really good to you guys and a couple other bands. Is that still the case, where you guys can go over there and draw huge crowds?
Well, we've had, we went over there back on that third record, and we kept going back. And fortunately, we built an audience over there, and we still go back there from time to time. And the last time I went, I think we had 60,000 people there.
Wow!
At one gig. So so we're sitting there scratching our heads, going, wow. And it's a long way to go, but it's a bunch of people who really love the music that we do, and it's a lot of countries that we never thought we were going to be able to have the honor to be able to play, and now there's some of our greatest memories are going to play Thailand or Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, India, Japan, of course. I mean, everybody, and I love Japan, Korea. I can name a couple other ones, but just gone over there a lot and had a lot of great times and played a lot of great shows.
Definitely. Well, we appreciate your time.
Man, thanks for having me, you guys.
Yeah, just want to say, I don't mean to fanboy out here, but you guys were the first band I ever saw live. I still love you guys to this day, so thanks a lot. This is great.
Thanks, man. Well, thanks for having me, and good luck to Thunder Underground, and I appreciate you having me, and thanks to all the listeners who tuned in.
There you go, Bill Leverty of Firehouse. Big thanks to him for taking the time out to talk to us there for a bit about what he's got going on. Once again, very cool. Like you mentioned earlier, and you mentioned at the end of that interview, that's the first band we ever saw live, and so
that's right.
It's kind of cool to finally get a guy from that band on here.
Of course. I had to geek out a little bit.
Hey.
I don't like to do that all the time, but sometimes I just can't help myself.
Right.
Has to happen.
Definitely. But yeah, if this is your first time listening, you're a fan, obviously, of Firehouse. We've had on guys like we mentioned earlier, Joey Allen of Warrant, Mark Gus Scott of Trickster. We had on Steve Blaze of Lillian Axe. Like we said, Chris Green of Taiketo. We've had on Ian Hogland from Europe.
Mark Torian.
Yeah, from the Bullet Boys. That one's a fantastic one.
Yes.
And then we've got, all kinds of other stuff we do. We've had on two guys from a band called Kiss. Bruce Kulick and Gene Simmons. You should look them up if you haven't heard them.
You might have heard of them.
Yeah. We've had on guys from Seven Dust and Avatar, Drowning Pool.
Super Joint.
Yeah. Like we mentioned earlier, Scattered Hamlet. Man, what am I forgetting? Crowbar, Corrosion and Conformity, Shooter Jennings.
He is Legend, Miss May I, The Sword.
Oh, yeah.
And even, I'll mention again, on the Super Joint one with Jimmy Bower, Phil Anselmo makes like a half-second cameo really quick.
Yeah.
And then goes away again, but it was still awesome. But yeah, we've had all kinds of shit.
Yeah, so be sure and check all that out. Every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central, you can listen to us on 1027WSNR.com. Thanks to them for having us on as one of their weekly programs. And then, of course, all those ones we just mentioned, you can check out soundcloud.com/Thunder-Underground. And then Facebook is /The Thunder Underground. Instagram's The Thunder Underground. YouTube, you can listen to all these as well at The Thunder Underground. Twitter, THNDRUNDR Ground. Speaking of SoundCloud, did you see all that stuff about how it was like failing financially?
Yeah. Well,
and then supposedly
they said that a year ago, and then now they're coming back with all that kind of talk again.
Well, yeah, but apparently it was like now it's like in dire straits. It said it had like a month and a half like left of funding or something.
Really?
But apparently, like once the news came out, Chance the Rapper stepped in and fully funded them or something.
Yes, well,
so he kind of saved our ass too.
Thanks to Chance the Rapper. I never had a problem with that guy anyways.
Yeah. Hey, that guy is the pure definition of what's the word? Self-made American dream, I guess, right?
I'm telling you, him and Kendrick Lamar are the only two people I hear right now that like remind me of when rap was good. I mean, I'm not a big rap guy, but
yeah,
again, here we go off on another tangent.
Right. When rap was good, Snow, Informer.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. We're done. Bye, everybody.
Until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.